Howdy folks, and welcome to another Casual Completers video, where today we shall be getting the Platinum for Assassin's Creed 2. I thought this would be a great starting plat, as I absolutely love the Assassin's Creed series, and PlayStation Plus is also kind enough to have it, so might as well use that, right? Without mincing too many words, AC2 has 51 trophies including the Platinum, so let's throw that up on the board, and let's begin. We begin where AC1 left off, in Abstergo. But this time without Warren Vidic creeping on us as we sleep. Instead, it's Lucy, demanding we get in the Animus for reasons. Pay no attention to the blood on her shirt, though. Upon entering the Animus and syncing up with the fancy science stuff, we are greeted not with death, but life. Maria Auditori, our mother, is currently giving birth to me? Us? I don't know. In any case, after we pop out and prove to our papa that we are an Auditore and survive, we are awarded with our first achievement, the birth of an assassin.
Get up.
No rest for the wicked, or the newly born in our case. Lucy has us get up and lets us know that we are bugging out of Abstergo. Now, this section requires that we fight security, who shockingly don't have any guns. I imagine this is America, so interesting. But in any case, we fight these guards without guns, go through a quick stealth session, and finally we get to the garage. Upon arrival of the garage, the subsequent beatdown of unarmed guards, I get to finally live my dream of being smuggled in a trunk. But, you know, more importantly, we receive the trophy Arrivederci Abstergo for, well, leaving Abstergo. After a not at all pleasant ride in the back of a trunk, or boot, you know, depending on which version of English you like using, we arrive at the warehouse. This will be our base of operations for the foreseeable future, and we get to meet the rest of the team. Now, I love this OG team from the Assassin's Creed game, but instead of me introducing them, I'll just let them introduce themselves.
Who are you?
I'm sorry, where are my manners? I'm Sean Hastings. This is Rebecca Crane.
Nice to meet you, Desmond.
Right, well, it's been lovely chatting, but if you don't mind, Desmond, it's best we get straight to work. Time is precious. Doubly so these days.
After a little powwow with every member, and Sean telling us off for not being cool enough, Rebecca sets us up with her own homemade and better created Animus. Strapped in and synced up, we receive our next trophy, Animus 2.0, for sitting in the Animus. You gotta love these names sometimes. It's 1476, and we are now finally in Florence. I know in Italian it's Firenze, but I am not Italian, and my attempted accent can only carry me so far. Anyways, we meet up with our boy Ezio as he is about to start a fight with the Pazzi family, a actual real-world family during the Renaissance era. Super cool. Who have also insulted the Auditore name. So, you know, there's that. After our older brother joins in the fray of beating the Pazzi up, we continue the obligatory "this is how you smack the living daylights out of your enemies" tutorial that all good AC games have. After learning about the concept of money to give to doctors to heal us, with absolutely no insurance necessary, I know, what a time to be alive, what a concept. We race our brother up a church steeple and have a bro moment. Although, instead of heading home, Ezio, being the clear-minded adolescent, I think he is, he decides to pay a fine young woman a visit instead.
Indeed.
Well, wait, that came out wrong.
Now, it's been a hot moment since we've had any trophy unlock, and we'll get a few of those in a moment, but let me just summarize this part of the story real quick for you guys. We arrive back at our house, where our father pretends to chastise us for our misadventures. He requests that we deliver a note for him to Lorenzo de' Medici, another real-world figure who did a lot for Florence back in the day. Highly recommend you look him up. After completion, we are then tasked with doing 3 other assignments. One for our mother, sister, and younger brother, which we will get to momentarily. After meeting Umberto in our father's study, and upon completion of our father's assignment to Lorenzo, 2 side activities have opened up for us. The first are courier missions, where we have to deliver packages in a certain amount of time, and races, which is a race. Courier missions are not needed for any achievement. Once we beat our first race, however, we are greeted with our next trophy, Steal Home, for winning a race against a thief. It's now time for us to meet our younger brother, Petruccio, who introduces us to the first of two collectibles, feathers. Now, there will be 100 of these throughout the entire game, and you'll need to pick up every single one of them for a later achievement. Our next assignment sees us meeting our sister Claudia, who is currently not in a great mood, as her future promised husband has been seen out courting other women. Ezio, being the kind, caring, and all-around badass brother that he is, goes and beats the ever-loving snot out of him. This also unlocks another side activity called beat-ups, which will be needed for a future achievement. Speaking of beating people up for trophies, let's go earn that one. This lady here tells us, a random stranger, that her husband has been unfaithful. Instead of doing the honorable thing and poisoning his meal to claim all his property, she instead requests that I, again, most likely a stranger, go beat him up for some money. I am also happy to oblige as we receive the trophy Macho Man for defending a woman's honor. A main part of all AC games are the synchronization points and leaps of faith. There are 2 achievements tied to these, with us completing the first one right here. High Dive, for performing a leap of faith off Giotto's Campinelli. It's now finally time for us to help our mother out. She wants us to meet some up-and-coming artist by the unknown name of Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I had to really go deep into the history books for this one. Apparently he actually existed and was some sort of Renaissance man. All jokes aside, this is where we meet Da Vinci for the first time, who will become an integral part of the story later on. Alright, so we're nearly 10 minutes in and still haven't committed an assassination. So I'm going to try to brief us through the rest of the prologue here. After helping our mother, we head back to our father's study, where he asks us to give 2 letters to 2 associates and obtain a letter from a carrier pigeon. Once we obtain all the necessary documentation, though, one of the associates tells us that, quote-unquote, they have increased their timetable, and we, specifically our father, needs to be careful.
Tell your father that they're moving tonight. He should as well. Who's moving? What's going on here? Wait, come back! Explain yourself!
We return to our house to find it absolutely ransacked by God knows who. We find our housemaid with our mother and sister, but have been told our father and 2 brothers have been taken to jail. No idea why. We have also been informed that those who took them are looking for us. Whether to kill us or not we're not sure yet. Thankfully, we were out of the house running errands. Being the all-around badass that we are, we sneak into the prison walls, where we find our father imprisoned. He gives us 2 commands. Go to his office and find a hidden chest, take all the contents from it, and second, find Umberto, the man from before, and give him a specific letter.
Among the contents is a letter.
We return to our father's study, where, after opening a secret door, we find for the first time the assassin robes, along with a broken hidden blade and a note.
To bring this to Messer Roberto.
We don our new threads and head over to Umberto's house, where we smash on the door until he finally opens it, and we hand him the note our father wanted us to give him. We then wait for the next day for their trial.
How?
The documents you've given me contain evidence of a conspiracy against your family and against the city.
It's the next morning, and we find our father and 2 brothers currently on the gallows. I'm not going to pretend to understand the Florentine judicial system during the Renaissance era, but this sort of seems like they've already had judgment passed. And, well, I'll just let you watch.
Have you any evidence to counter this charge?
Yes, the documents that were delivered to you last night.
I'm afraid I know nothing of these documents.
He's lying! Need to get closer.
In the absence of any compelling evidence to the contrary, I am bound to pronounce you guilty. You and your collaborators are hereby sentenced to death.
You are the traitor, Roberto, and one of them! You may take our lives this day, but we will have yours in return, I swear! We will!
Father!
Hey! Grab the boy! He's one of them!
I'll kill you for what you've done!
Guards! Arrest him!
Abatete.
Better run, boy. And fast.
There! On him!
Oh, cool. Uberto was a dirty, rotten, family-hanging bastard. I'll deal with him later. First, it's time to bolt. Upon successfully evading capture, we are now back to being anonymous, ending Sequence 1 and getting us the Pains of Betrayal trophy. Once we started Sequence 2, we're told by Sean about weird glyphs that have appeared. These are the next collectible in the game, of which there are 20, and, upon finding our first, we are awarded with the Tip of the Iceberg trophy. Each glyph has some sort of puzzle with a piece of information that Subject 16 has encoded. We will have to find and decrypt all 20 of these for a later achievement. But, for now, once we decrypt our first, we're awarded with the A Piece of the Puzzle trophy. Alright, well, this is going to be awkward, so I'm simply going to explain. We meet Paula, the sister of Annette, the maid who escorted our family to safety. Paula here then teaches us the ways of the thief, such as blending into a crowd and, pickpocketing, which we will need to know later on. Later, we find Leonardo, who fixes the hidden blade for us using a codex page found in our father's chest, along with everything else. Finally, we go and stick Uberto with the pointy side of our blade. Why am I telling you all of this instead of showing it? Because I lost the footage. Like an idiot. I apologize, this shouldn't actually happen again. After the justifiable and morally redeemable act of snuffing Uberto's life out, we return to Paula and collect our mother and sister. We then flee Florence, heading towards Montegerioni and our uncle's place for refuge. On the bright side, at least, upon escaping Florence, we do get the Vengeance Trophy for completing Sequence 2. We finally make it to our Uncle Mario's villa after he saves us from a Pazzi ambush. We'll get into later about this villa, but for right now, just know that it's going to be our home base of operation, and it's where a majority of our money will come from. But that's at a later date. And we have another trophy to collect. After climbing to the top of the villa and hitting the synchronization point, we are awarded with the I Like the View trophy for synchronizing with 10 different points. We now get into Tutorial Training Part 2, where we learn a plethora of different skills, including countering and sidestepping. We're also told in rapid succession about the Assassin and Templar War and how our father was secretly an assassin. Alright, let's jump ahead now to the assassination of Viero de Pazzi, mostly because between now and then, we're just doing a bunch of collectible collections. As we fight our way through the city, we finally get to the top of a wall where Viero is waiting for us. I would say it was a well-fought duel with close calls on both sides. But the reality is we put Viero down like he was a pig ready for slaughter. We then insult his corpse and get told off by our uncle. Whoops.
What are you and your allies planning? Is this what my father discovered? Is this why he was killed?
I'm sorry. Were you hoping for a confession?
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avessi sofferto di più! Hai avuto la fine che meritavi! Spero che
Enough, Ezio! Show some respect.
Respect? After all that's happened, do you think he would have shown either of us such kindness?
You are not Fieri. Do not become him. Che la morte ti dia le pace che cercavi. Requiesca in pace.
Once we get back to the villa, Ezio decided it's time to take up his father's mantle, and he, along with his sister and mother, will stay at the villa, and Ezio will finish his father's work. Oh, also, we finished sequence 3 at this point, after we go and collect a couple of codex pages that are around Montigiarioni, and at that point, we finished sequence 3, but for whatever reason, the PS5 did not take the footage of the trophy pop, so here's a screenshot for proof of Exit the Sun. Alright, let's keep it moving and grooving. So, starting sequence 4, we then sprint for 100 meters and unlock the Lightning Strike trophy. We are then introduced to Claudia's new day job, keeping track of all the different revenue streams and putting them in the lockbox. Well, the florins that we get. We are then introduced to the architect. Here, we will be able to upgrade different shops and buildings for discounts and a higher amount of money per 20 minutes. We will then have to upgrade the villa and get several other paintings, weapons, and armor to increase the villa's value for a later achievement. After speaking with the architect for the first time, and actually buying a renovation, we are awarded the Handyman trophy for renovating our first building. Uncle Mario then takes us down to the basement to show us the armor of Altair, hidden behind a locked gate, where we will need to obtain all 6 seals to open it. These 6 seals, and unlocking the armor, will be needed for later achievements.
My great-grandfather told me it would remain locked away until all its protectors were made whole.
With all that out of the way, we return to Florence to continue our adventure and take out Francesco de Pazzi. We talk to Da Vinci to teach us new assassination techniques, get the dual hidden blades, and he points us in the direction of La Volpe, who should, hopefully, help us find Francesco.
You are still alive.
Running around the game, you will find these individuals with white arrows above their heads. They are Borgia couriers. By tackling them, you get money and a trophy. I misclicked and did not tackle them, but I still got the trophy Mailman for intercepting a Borgia courier. Continuing with the story, we finally find La Volpe, the fox, who tells us of a secret meeting that will be happening between Francesco de Pazzi and several other high-ranking Templar members. He instructs us to race him to a certain cathedral where we will have to enter and go through a maze till we get to the listening post.
Thief. But you may call me La Volpe. At your service, Messer Ezio.
Upon making our way through the catacombs, we finally make it to the meeting spot where we hear a plan to attack someone. We're not quite sure yet.
This gift to mean the Pope consents.
After the meeting adjourns, we finish at a certain tomb where we collect our first of 6 seals and obtain our next trophy, Undertaker, for finding the seal under the Santa Maria Novella. Finally, we finish up by finding La Volpe and telling him what we've learned. He deduces that there will be an attack on Lorenzo de' Medici on Easter Sunday when he is out in public. Side note, this attack is a real historical event, and it's somehow more wild in real life. I highly recommend you look it up. Before being a hero and stopping the plot on Lorenzo's life, we have 2 more trophies to knock out. The first one is by obtaining our second seal and getting the trophy Choir Boy for finding the seal inside the Duomo. Our next trophy comes hot on the heels of the last, as by throwing a total of 300 florins on the ground, we receive the Man of the People trophy. The attack on Lorenzo's life fails as he survives, although his brother does not, and we fight our way through the streets to get Lorenzo back to his home, where he can be saved and fortify said home. As Lorenzo and his crew try to retake the city, the Pazzi are riling up the masses in an attempt to take control of Florence themselves. We make our way up the tower, give chase to Francesco on the rooftops, and finally cut him down to size. In an act of poetic justice, and probably to Mario's dislike, we string up Francesco's body with a noose and throw it over the walls for everybody to see. Jacopo de Pazzi flees, but, more importantly, we get our next trophy, Bloody Sunday, for completing Sequence 4. At the start of Sequence 5, and after talking with Lorenzo, we finally have assassination contracts open to us. Once we complete our first assassination contract, we receive the Assassin for Hire trophy for, well, doing exactly that. Continuing our trophy hunt, we knock out another miscellaneous one. By taking 5 bodies and hiding them in the same haystack, this is pretty easy, you just gotta make them bodies first, you will receive the Street Cleaner trophy. So our next trophy is interesting. Prior to this, Da Vinci was able to make us a poison hidden blade that would make an enemy go insane and attack allies. By poisoning and then air assassinating a guard that was poisoned, we then get the Doctor trophy. After clearing those trophies, we make our way to Tuscany, where the next part of our story takes place. Here, we will have to assassinate 4 different individuals that were a part of the original Medici murder plot. These individuals are Bernardo di Bandino, Stefano de Bagnon, Antonio Maffei, and Francisco Salviati. You can kill them in any order you prefer, and once you kill all 4 of them, the mission to kill Jacopo opens up. But I'm getting ahead of myself. While in Tuscany, we acquire our 3rd seal to Altair's armor, giving us the trophy I Can See Your House From Here for finding the seal in the Torre Grossa. We continue our trophy collection with this next one. You have to pay courtesans a total of 5,000 florins. I found to do this best is just by running a circle all through Tuscany and hiring them each time you see them, even if you already have a group. Upon completion, I received the Red Light Addict trophy. Our next miscellaneous was a bit difficult, as first we actually had to obtain the skill from the trainer at the villa. You then have to hit 4 enemies with sand at once. This took a couple of tries, as one always ended up behind me, but finally, I received the Messer Sandman trophy for hitting 4 enemies with sand. Back to the story. Once you've given each of the 4 conspirators the old stabby, you will then be able to tail a couple of guards to a secret meeting where you will see Rodrigo Borgia, an unknown man, and Jacopo de Pazzi, I'd say having a discussion, but really it's more like a father scolding a child. Unlike most families I'm aware of, though, the father does not usually stab the child for failure.
So sorry to have claimed your
We
prize.
get called out by Rodrigo, and we face down a plethora of enemies.
Did you honestly think I wouldn't expect you to follow? That I didn't plan for it? We've been at this a lot longer than you. Kill him.
Finally, upon smacking around all those baddies, we walk up to Jacopo and put our blade through him, ending his life, and, more importantly, giving us our next trophy, the Conspirators, for completing Sequence 5. We head back to Florence to let Lorenzo know that the Pazzi conspiracy has been dealt with, and he gives us the Medici cape, which basically lets us commit petty crime in Florence without raising our notoriety, so pickpocket ho. He also informs us of who the mystery man was back at that meeting, and that we'll be heading to Venice to have a chat with him. It's finally time we head out to Venice, and as we do, we run into Da Vinci, who's got a broken cart. Well, we help repair the cart, and just as quickly we get attacked by Rodrigo Borgia's men. We flee, and finally are able to meet up with Da Vinci in Forlì before heading out to Venice. Once in Forlì, it's time for us to get more trophies. We make our way through another maze and find our 4th seal to acquire the Prison Escape trophy for finding said seal in the Rocca di Ravaldino fortress. Alright, so this is a cool trophy, and one that can only be got here in Forlì. In each city, you can dye your robes different colors. Each city has its own specific colors. For this trophy, you need to dye the robes Wetlands Ebony and Wetlands Ivory. Upon doing so, we got the Perfect Harmony trophy. After completing those miscellaneous trophies, we continue on to Venice. Or Try to, at least. Apparently, to enter, we require a pass, of which we do not have. While we try to figure out a way onto the boat that does not involve spilling blood, a woman is seen shouting for help. Being the kind and capable individual that I am, we rescue her and bring her to shore. To our surprise, the woman we just saved was Caterina Sforza. Another side note, she was a legit badass figure during the Renaissance era, and I know I've said this a couple times now, but you gotta look her up. She was super cool. Anyways, even better than that, we receive the Unexpected Journey trophy for completing Sequence 6. After getting on the boat, Desmond is yanked out of the Animus so that we can test to see what skills he may have acquired from Ezio. After having proven what skills we've gained, and being placed back in the Animus of course, we are given the Bleeding Effect trophy. So prior to continuing the story in Venice, I quickly travel back to the villa to find all 8 Roman statue gods strewn across the property. Once I find all 8, I'm granted the Mythmaker trophy. After a quick tour through Venice and seeing the autocratic rule Emilio Barbarigo has, who by the way is our target, he's got this death grip over the merchants, we finish up at Da Vinci's new abode. As we head back to Emilio's palace to see how we can, get in to give him the old stab, a group of thieves pushes past us in an attempt to get through. One of them uses a fancy technique to reach higher, which is basically reaching out your arm and climbing. But this all happens before getting shot in the knee and losing her adventurer status. We then, with some assistance, get her back to the thief's hideout. Here we meet Antonio, the leader of this merry band of thieves, and our next point of contact. He will help us kick out Emilio in the most violent of ways. Enough about saving the populace. We have more trophies to get. This next one was a 2-parter. It required that we buy art in Florence and Venice. I previously already bought a painting in Florence, so upon buying one here in Venice, I get the Art Connoisseur trophy. Dear God, this trophy was such a pain in the butt to do. It requires that you kill 10 enemies without getting hit while never breaking combat, meaning your minimap had to stay red the whole time. I did this by using smoke bombs and the hidden blade, and upon getting my 10th kill, we get the no-hitter trophy. With a quick return to the story, we go in, shank Emilio after he spoke with an individual named Carlo, and upon completion of our conversation with Antonio, we are awarded the Merchant of Venice trophy for completing Sequence 7. Well, after that little romp of death, it's time for more trophies. Once we obtain our 5th seal, we received Hallowed Be Thy Name for finding said seal in the Basilica di San Marco. Back to it. We now have to find and kill Carlo, the man Emilio was last seen speaking to. Carlo and the rest of the Templars plan to kill the Doge of Venice and install their own man into power. We have to stop that. After going over the palazzo with Antonio, we come to the conclusion that the only way in is over. So that's going to be a problem, but thankfully, Da Vinci has just created his first flying machine. This trophy is the only missable one in the whole game, and it can only be done during this sequence. To achieve it, you need to kick a guard off while using the flying machine. Upon doing so, we are awarded with the Fly Swatter trophy. We failed to stop the poisoning of the Doge, who died, but we were able to kill Carlo in the ensuing escape. Now everybody thinks we're the one that killed the Doge, but that's not the point. More importantly, once we sent Carlos to Hades, we got the Impenetrable Palazzo trophy for completing Sequence 9. More death, more trophies. In Venice, we find our last assassin's tomb, our 6th seal for Altair's armor, but more importantly, we get another trophy, Venetian Gladiator, for finding the seal in the Santa Maria della Visitacion. Now, this is an interesting trophy because it shows us unlocking Altair's armor, which itself is not a trophy, although it is of course needed for one later on. But upon obtaining said armor, we receive the Podesta of Monte Gerioni for getting the villa's value, to 80%. Alright, so somehow this trophy was even more annoying than the no-hitter one. To obtain this trophy, you have to take a long weapon, in this case, the dropped spear of an enemy, and knock down 5 enemies at once. This killed me. It took me so many tries to get this trophy, but upon completion, I got the sweeper trophy. This wasn't as much of a grind as I thought it was going to be. The kleptomaniac trophy requires that you pickpocket 1,000 florins. Honestly, to get this, all I did was just start going around pickpocketing everyone I saw during Carnival, and it took about 10 minutes, and that's when it popped. This next trophy is story-driven. Once Carlo was killed, during Carnival, we had to find a way to kill the new Doge, Marco Barbarigo. We do this by first competing in 4 events for a golden mask. We then got swindled, and finally stole the mask back. Then, it's as simple as waiting for Marco to appear in front of the crowd at his little soiree. We get into position, and put one between his eyes. Upon completion and escaping the festival, we are awarded with the Masquerade Trophy for completing Sequence 10. Throughout the game, I had been collecting all 20 of the glyphs and, of course, decrypting them. Upon completion, we receive the Vitruvian Man Trophy, as well as finally being able to see the completed truth. We also finally finish up this achievement here. This is the one that the Armor of Altair is actually required for. By buying this last pouch upgrade, we receive Victory Lies in Preparation for having all armor, pouch upgrades, and hidden blade upgrades. As we inch closer and closer to that sweet, sweet platinum, we have yet another story-related trophy to knock out. We're looking to kill the last Barbarigo, Silvio, and the bodyguard Dante. We free an associate named Bartolomeo, who promises to help us free the district, kill both men, and just overall, make things slightly better with his men and Bartolomeo's longsword, Bianca. Once we put all our ducks in a row and start the assault against the arsenal where Dante and Silvia are, we make our way through, finally giving both of them the old stabbing treatment, though before they die, we are told they were trying to leave on a ship to Cyprus. Intriguing. But also, not important right now, because you know what is more important right now? We obtained the Bianca's Man Trophy for finishing Sequence 10. Alright, it's time to wrap up a few more of these miscellaneous trophies. Remember those feathers from way in the beginning of the game? Well, as I said before, there are 100 of them, and throughout the entire time playing, I've been picking them up as we go along. Yes, I was using a guide, there was no way I was going to do it otherwise. Once you collect all 100, we get In Honor of Petruccio trophy. This bit is important as you need it for another achievement. Basically, what you have to do is you need to deposit all 100 feathers into the box near your mother. Once you do so, she'll snap out of her shock and award you with the Auditori Cape, which you'll need here in just a moment. Now, this achievement is easy, but kind of tricky. You need to wear the Auditori Cape in all of the cities, but, and this is the bit that I had to look up, yes, you have to wear the cape in Venice, Florence, Forli, and Tuscany, but you also have to wear it in the mountains. Do not forget the mountains. Upon doing so, we received the Show Your Colors trophy. Now, this next bit is really cool. We find out that the ship Silvio and Dante were going to be on has finally come back from Cyprus with something. We tail the person who has the item, take the guard out, and obviously take their place, and finally come face to face with Rodrigo Borgia himself. We fight it out until the assassin squad comes through. This is basically everyone that had helped us on our journey. La Volpe, Antonio, Paola, they are all part of the assassin order, including a new face, Machiavelli. After beating the snot out of the Templars, Rodrigo is able to escape, but he left that object he came for, the apple. Finally, we meet all the assassins atop a tower where Ezio is officially conducted into the Assassin Order, and upon completion, we receive the Prophet Trophy for completing Sequence 11. skipping over sequence 12 and 13 as there are no trophies associated with them, and all the miscellaneous trophies have now actually been completed. We're now nearing the end of our journey. Upon obtaining all 30 codex pages, we find out that the vault, the thing the Templars have been after, is below the Vatican. This is the reason Rodrigo Borgia became the Pope. Ezio heads towards Rome to find the vault and to finally kill Rodrigo. Now, that little stab didn't quite do it, and after a tense battle with Ezio, he does end up getting stabbed by Rodrigo. Rodrigo, now obtaining the apple, descends into the depths to find the vault. Ezio, of course, miraculously heals and follows suit. After a good old-fashioned fisticuffs fight, Rodrigo goes down for the count, and Ezio opens the vault. This signals, very closely, the end of the game. But, more importantly, we get our next trophy, the Vault, for finishing sequence 14. After having a message relayed to us through Minerva, Desmond is once again yanked out of the Animus. It appears that Abstergo has finally found us. Vidic shows up again, but thankfully we have all of Ezio's abilities and easily fight our way through the guards, with Vidic escaping on his truck like a little bitch. We follow suit and obtain the An Old Friend Returns trophy for finally escaping the hideout. And with that, we have now obtained the Platinum Trophy Master Assassin for Assassin's Creed 2. So I really enjoyed this Platinum Trophy, and I, as you know, am a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed games, so having this as kind of the first Platinum Trophy here on the channel, big fan, loved it. We are definitely platinuming all the other Assassin's Creed games. That being said, you should also keep an eye out for the next achievement video, which should be the OG Borderlands 1, but we'll get to that later. I'm still getting my footing on how I want these platinum/achievement videos to work, so please let me know in the comments if you prefer more story explanation, like what you saw here, with the trophies thrown in, or if you would prefer potentially shorter videos with less story explanation and just hit the trophy highlights. In any case though, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!